Okay, so you see, so we talked about. Okay, welcome everyone to this series of Bhagavat Sankhya lecture. I'm going to start formally this Bhagavat Sankhya lecture from next onwards, based on Srimad Bhagavatam third canto. We will go chapter wise. But what I'm trying to do since last class and this class, I'm trying to give you little scientific basis before we can read these literature, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is what I'm doing. So what I explained. Mm, अरे, उसको छोड़ दो, ये गड़बड़ हो रहा है, उसको बोलो. Yeah. Okay, so you can see here the big picture I talked about. We have this big basket, and in this big basket you put everything, right? When I say I means is not simply I, because everything an extension of I is also I, and so the very important is that when I will explain what is this I and mine, and it appears that I and mine is very little. It is not very little. It is it's pretty big. So this big basket I talked about. This big basket includes everything. That means there is nothing beyond this big basket. And as I told you, comprehensible, incomprehensible, conceivable, inconceivable, knowable, unknowable, matter, consciousness, whatever you put, everything here, and such that there is nothing beyond. And then what is knowledge? I talked last class that knowledge is that which is a relation of an element of this big basket. What is this relation? We are going to deal with that relation. What is this relation? We are going to understand that. But relation of an element with this big basket is actually knowledge, right? That is the primary knowledge. And then we will understand even more refined knowledge later. And so now let me go and ask this question to you, because many people don't understand what is space. If I ask people what is space, they normally say space is something that is is empty, or the antariksha is a space. But actually space is everywhere. Without space, there is nothing existing. For example, suppose I create two objects here, right? So let's say two objects. So let's say an object, right? So let's say this is an apple, right? And then along with this apple, let's say I draw so something like this. This is, we can say, an orange. I don't have the color, so it doesn't look like an orange, but so orange. Okay. So, how do you make a distinction between apple and orange? And most of you will say, okay, I look at this shape and then I say, this is apple and this is orange. But this is not true. The apple and orange or any two objects. So what about two apples, identical apple? Okay. So basically, these two objects are manifesting because each one of them made of space. We'll explain what is the space actually. This is also made up of space. And when I say this is made up of space, just a moment. So when I say this is made up of space, you see, you just think of when space withdraws. Now I can let's think of a thought experiment by which I have the ability to withdraw the space, right? For example, this you see, this is an object, and I withdraw this space. So this object will collapse to a point in visual space, right? It has certain taste, right? Because this is, suppose this is an apple and this is a space, and that taste also I'm withdrawing. Think of that. So then also this will collapse because this will become tasteless, right? So basically any object the object has an identity based on 5 space: sound, touch, form, taste, smell, right? So you see here, these two objects, right? This has certain, suppose I make a paste of this orange, right? Orange juice and apple juice, and I make, and I add some color that will make it indistinguishable, right? And still you can say this is orange and this is apple, right? How? Because of taste. And similarly, through smell also, because orange will have a specific smell and the apple will have another smell, right? So how do you make a distinction between any two objects, right? So each object, any object, not only apple, orange, any object you talk about, okay? Suppose this particular apple can be represented in the space of sound. Let's not worry about how, for example, this is an object and this is made of a metal or some substance. Simply by looking at the vibration that I get, probably you can talk about, but this is a very scientific topic. How to look at an object based on sound is a little more involved, so let's not worry about it. So sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. These are 5 different spaces. Okay. So these objects, they are all made up of when I say sound, ether, touch, air, form, fire, taste. Taste is water, and smell is earth, right? So ether is the space that carries the sound. And we will later know that literally there is no distinction between ether and sound, in the sense they're one are the same, because without ether there is no sound, without sound there is no ether. So this is again achintya bheda bheda tattva, so we will understand. So many times I will be interchangeably using the space. Okay, space of sound, when I say, that is same as ether. Space of touch, when I say, that is same as air. Okay, so you see that ether, air, fire, water, earth has nothing to do with our idea for earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? It has to do some, abstract element. They're there, they're existing. These elements are existing. We have to figure out where they are. But these elements, they carry the information sound. So that element which carries the information sound is ether. That which carries the information touch is air. That which carries the information form is fire. That which carries the information taste is water. That which carries the smell, that is earth. So this is how we need to understand. So now the point is, so when how this object comes into being, or it gets also it gets annihilated as well, right? So what is meaning of in the beginning? If I extract the smell, imagine I take the smell out of this particular thing. Suppose, imagine there is an instrument that can take out all the smell from this object. So what will happen? So this object will be bereft of a space called earth. Earth will be no more there in this. Similarly, think of another instrument that can take out all the taste from it. The moment you take out all the taste, this object will be bereft of water. Now the same thing, once you take out the form, okay, something that can take out the form, so then this will be bereft of fire. Okay, and then finally you take out the touch, it will be bereft of air, and then take out the sound. Okay, what is sound, right? Every we can associate every thing with a vibration, gross vibration to subtle vibration. These are all atomic vibration, and we will when we go through the verse wise, we will have more meditation on that. But let's worry about now what we are talking about, space. So I understand. I hope that you understood space. And finally, when you extract the sound, this object will vanish. Will vanish. Right? So how you make a distinction between two objects? It is space. What is meaning of that? That distinction between two objects? Because in space they are different. In the space of sound they are different. In the space of touch they are different. In the space of form they are different. In the space of taste they are different. In the space of smell they are different. So it is a space that makes or gives an object specific identity. So your identity, my identity is based on space, right? So I'm speaking, you are speaking, so I'm there in my voice, right? I'm creating a voice. Okay. So in that voice, so you hear my voice and you know this is Lila Purushottam Das, right? So you understand that. So this is very, very important for us to understand that how it is a space that gives us an identity. So different mixture of this space will create different structure of an object. Okay, so this is something that we must be very, very clear. Now, I will go to the Sankhya element because we are going to discuss all this in detail, but I want to put a big picture. You see here, Purusha. So there are two Purusha here. One is atomic soul and the other is super soul. So if you look at the structure, Sankhya element is, when we refer to Purusha, this is super soul. This is not atomic soul because atomic soul has no connection or no relation with this. Sorry. Okay, so it's working. So now we are starting from Prakriti. This Prakriti is unmanifest energy. Unmanifest energy. So this energy is eternal. So when I say eternal, this cannot be destroyed, cannot be created. This is always existing, right? And then this unmanifest energy, when comes in contact with time, okay, time is again the Purusha's potency. Time is the potency of the Purusha. And this time, the first topic in Bhagavat Sankhya, I'm going to talk about time because time is so important. What is experiential time and what is the time that moves things, right? So actually time makes this unmanifest energy to manifest in the form of Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva. Okay. Tattva means truth. So within this material world or the material world, in its manifest form is Mahat Tattva. Unmanifest form, Prakriti or Pradhan. There are so many terms we can say this. And the first identification of that Mahatattva is Ahankara, false ego. Okay. This is the manifestation of ignorance. Okay, so now let's see. So this Ahankara or is a cause, or this Ahankara we can say, is the first deluding agency of this material world. So normally you see that according to Bhagavat Sankhya, this unmanifest energy is neutral. This is neutral, okay? So Prakriti is neutral. Same Prakriti, when it becomes Mahatattva, Mahat Tattva. So when that becomes, it becomes manifest, then it becomes deluding energy. What is meaning of deluding? It makes things appear to be something which it is not. This is what is Mahatattva. So it makes things appear to be something which it is not. That is called deluding energy. And this Mahatattva takes the variegated manifestation. And these variegated manifestations are all temporary. All temporary, right? So this is the bigger picture, and we want to first of all figure out using our own concept, our own idea of myself. See, some of the time you have to recognize that if I don't get that identity of I will become null and void. So what makes this world to move is the identity, I-ness. That's why you see that in the big basket, I put that first thing is I. It's the identity that makes you to learn. It is identity that makes you to get education. If that identity is not there, so that identity is although it is a false identity, but that identity has to be there. So it creates, the material nature is here to create many false identities, okay? And those false identities are the main cause by which this material universe operates, right? So now you see here, mind, 5 sense organs, 5 organ of action, 5 tanmatras. I had already explained to this subtle element, that is sound, touch. It's written here: sound, touch, form, taste, and okay. Okay. So sound, touch, color, form, taste, smell, right? This is I will use the word that is there in Bhagavat Sankhya, form. Okay, not color. So sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Okay, this is our tanmatras. And as I told you, this gross element and that carries this tanmatras, sound, touch, these are literally non-different in the sense from sound comes ether. But why? Because sound needs a place to rest. So this is again another concept I have to tell you, that information requires a carrier. Okay, any information that I'm talking, it requires a carrier. So sound is the information and ether is the carrier, right? So that is why it is the resting place. So what is the space? Space, one of the function of space is it is a resting place. So ether is the resting place for the sound. So that is why we also say Krishna as the absolute abode, dham, is the resting place for everything. For everything. That big basket you try to understand is the resting place for everything. And we are going to, because there are so many concepts we have to internalize before we will come out with some tangible research project that can be taken up based on Bhagavat Sankhya. So I'm trying to help each one of you. So you see that, what is I? So normally when I say I means my I, yes, my I, but this I also includes in the modern term, Hubble telescope, microscope, all kind of microscope, everything. That means all kind of instrument by which we are trying to see smaller than this smaller and bigger than the bigger. Okay, so that everything becomes part of these sense organs, right? So these are called instrument, right? Sensory perceptions. That means sensory organs. And ear. And you see that ear also there are different sounds that we talked about, and these sounds are Vaikhari, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Para. So the structure of the ear becomes subtler and subtler and subtler, depending on which sound it receives, right? So most of the time so there are varieties of sound forms, and for different kind of sound form we have a different level of the instrument that can acquire those sounds, right? And similarly the smell, for the smell, nose, and for the taste, tongue, and for the touch, the skin, right? So these are 5 organs. So 5 organ of action. Mouth, not only your mouth, all mouths. Imagine the trees. Anybody who knows what is the mouth of a tree? Mouth of a tree is the root, right? So if tree doesn't eat, we cannot also eat. That is why it is said also, if Brahmanas they don't eat, Vaishnavas they don't eat, Krishna doesn't eat, right? So this is something what I'm trying to explain to you through this, because we are trying to see a big subset of that big basket, which is called the universe, universal composition, only using these 24 elements, right? So hand means anything that is manipulative, right? So that which is capable of manipulating, not only human hand, anything that is able to manipulate, right? Similarly, feet, not only your feet, the biological feet, but the chariot, the that which helps us in locomotion, whether it is space, satellite, or everything, that helps in locomotion is part of the feet, right? And anus for excreta, uh, uh, removal of the excreta, and sex organs for procreation, right? So these are elements, right? So these are, this is how this universal structure is there. So now, what is meaning of this 24 elements, right? So you can see, let's count it. So 5, 5, 10, 10, 20, and mind is 21, right? And then we have intelligence, which is missing here. Intelligence is missing here. Intelligence is missing. So that is 22. Ahankara is 23rd, and Mahatattva is 24. Right. So this is. So what is meaning of this 24 elements? What is the importance of this 24 elements? Why not try to explain everything using 3 elements? Why 24 elements? Okay. So can anyone explain why we have 24 elements? We can also explain all these things, only 3. That is, the 3 element is called mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. That's it. 3 elements. We don't have to go on detail of this. Only 3 elements, right? In Ayurveda, every personality is described by 3 elements: kapha, vata, pitta. 3 elements. He's a kapha personified, he's the vata personified, he's the kapha, vata, pitta, right? So again, this comes from this the idea to make a distinction between objects. So why elements? 24 elements, because to appreciate diversity, right? Or the perception of diversity. These elements are there. They create diversity. Okay, based on different kind, the mixture of these elements, or the combination of these elements in a specific manner, give rise to tree as an object, animal as an object. Both are consisting of 24 elements, but one is tree, the other is an animal, another is human. So this has to be understood, how 24 elements are giving rise to variety, right? So this is topic that as a research problem we are going to talk later. Now let me go to the so I had already talked to you that what is space? It is the resting place for the information. You understand, right? You have to recognize in modern science this object is only 2 categories: particle and wave. Okay, and in quantum mechanics people are confused. Electron is a particle or electron is wave, right? So but in Vedic Sankhya or Bhagavat Sankhya, our objects, they lie in the space of sound, touch, form. So hence our objects are not this kind of particle wave. Our objects are semantic objects. I'll explain what is semantic object. Okay. So in modern science, we have not gone beyond particle and wave. So what is happening? You see, we start from particle and wave in modern science and try to explain sound as a secondary property, right? And or color or form, these are all secondary property, right? In modern science. Whereas in Bhagavat Sankhya, sound, touch, form, they are primary. They are primary. So this is very, very fundamental, and we will try to get hold of it in a proper context, because unless we conceive using science these concepts, then we will not be. So first of all, that's why I'm bringing, you see, it is a resting place for the information. So so what is space? Space, and also space gives every object a shape or a structure, right? So it is a space because of which it has certain structure, right? In vision space, in terms of form, it has a certain structure. In terms of taste, it has certain structure. In terms of smell, it has a certain structure, and so forth, right? So this is this has a certain structure based on the. So let me explain to you. For example, I have a book here. Right? So, okay, so it didn't become a book anyway. So imagine this is a book, right? So once you have a book, this space cannot be occupied by anything else, right? So once there is a book, you can keep another object, let's say paperweight. On the top of the book. So that is how there are many philosophers they argue that two objects, because book is one object, paperweight is another object, and they occupy definitive space, so they are not connected. This is something, two objects, they cannot contact, they cannot have a common space. They cannot have a common space, right? So this is something that conceptual. Just like, suppose I have a voice, you have a voice, right? So when we speak each other, you recognize my voice, I recognize your voice, and both the voices are there in the space of ether. We can demarcate using our oral reception, right? But using modern science, if I collect your voice sample and my voice sample and mix it, I can't recognize what is your voice, what is my voice. But in the ethereal space, my voice will have a definite space occupy, and your voice will occupy another space. So this is meaning when I say space gives every object a shape or a structure. And you can say there are certain objects, they will have a deformable shape and all those things. Let's not worry about it. So we can say voice is, but these are all very subtle concepts we have to come. So what is space? Space is something that is a resting place for the information. And what is information? Information conveys an experience. What is information? Information has information gives rise to an experience. Right? Let me explain to you what is an experience. Like I have two objects, right? And I have a distinct experience of this object as well as this object. When I withdraw the space from these two objects, they collapse. I have no experience, right? So a specific object which is made up of space is giving to me an experience. You withdraw the space, there is no experience, right? So my experience is connected to space. If space is not there, there is no experience. I hope I made my point very clear to all of you. Okay. So what is an experience? Experience is spatial. Space, my experience, I say I have an experience, and from empirical thing I can say, you do a thought experiment and you can see that this object will not have an experience, will not give rise to an experience if space is withdrawn. This also will not give an experience if space is withdrawn. So this is, so space is very important, right? So every information has a spatial structure, right? A sound information has a spatial structure, right? For example, you have a box, here is a box, right? In this box, you put something, right? So this is the box. And this box, imagine, this box is there. And in this box, if I put something, you don't see. You don't see, right? There's a box. So this box carries an information. So that means a space can hide an information like this. This information which I put inside this box is not visible to me. So space can hide an information. So that is also another aspect of space. And space also reveal an information. Okay. So space can hide an information. Space can reveal an information. So these are things that we have to understand. Okay. So information. So suppose space has no information. Space has no information. Then will that be any space? Suppose there is no information. What is your answer? Suppose I'm saying space without information. Can anybody say? You can unmute yourself and speak. This is a very, very foundational concept, space and information.
Sir, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Yes. If space is withdrawn, then there is no information, because we can think like there is a black hole and everything converges into it. Sir, we cannot hear you.
Professor Behera can unmute himself. He's muted now. No, it's not yet audible.
Professor Behera, please unmute yourself. You are muted right now. We are not able to hear you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So, my question is that there is no information. What will happen to the space? There is no information. What will happen to the space?
Sir, when there
I'm
is
talking
no
about space that carries information.
space will still exist, I think, but it will be like space can hide also.
Sharing.
Space can hide information. So, yes, sir.
See, participants. Yes. Can you put, either you speak or you put in the chat box? So some people are saying space will still exist and it will collapse. Okay. So information, if it's not there, space is not necessary. Right? It's not necessary. So most likely, so that is why in Vedic Sankhya, space is not absolute. Right? Space emerges. Like I'll just explain to you, when you are born, newborn baby, right? You are born with some space, but that space started taking shape by which you associated with a different kind of information. As information entered or you associated with information, that information made your space to emerge. So space emerges. This is very, very important concept. Space is not fixed or rigid. Space emerges. Okay? So this is very, very important. So okay. So what happened? Okay. So what I said, what is an experience? So imagine any object, experience of any object. I'm again speaking everything in a very, very abstract way. Suppose any object, I have an experience. This object must be defined both in terms of object must have certain meaning or certain information, and that information would be associated with the space, because no information can exist on its, information cannot be stand alone. Information requires. So that's why when sound manifested in the beginning in Bhagavat Sankhya, you will say sound is the first thing that manifested. Okay, and it is sound that caused ether to manifest. Okay, so it means the information is a mystical. In Bhagavad Sankhya it says how an information can be converted to the space. It's a mystical thing. I don't know whether it can be done scientifically, but this is a little mystical. That is, the sound manifests itself as space and carries itself. This is something very amazing. So the sound requires something to be carried. It's something to carry it, and then ether manifests. So this is so experience. We will not have any experience. Why I'm talking about experience? Because ultimately, without experience, suppose I don't have any experience, that means I'm inert. I make a distinction between me and an inert substance based on experience. I have an experience, you don't have experience. So this, if it doesn't have an experience and I have the experience, then I'm different from this. And in which way I have the experience, right? For example, this mobile is also experiencing. What it is experiencing? It is experiencing the electromagnetic wave. And when it is experiencing electromagnetic wave, and then it crinks, okay, and alerts you, okay, somebody has called you, right? So it experiences. And so in that sense, how the object, the experience of this object and experience of my object, in a physical level, there is no distinction because it is also experiencing. I'm only experiencing, but there is a distinction because this particular object is syntactically experiencing and I'm experiencing semantically. This is what is the distinction. So this is also experiencing, I'm also experiencing, I'm semantically experiencing, and this is syntactically experiencing. And this point, this will become very, very clear to us as we go forward. Okay. So experience is very important, and experience comes from information. So experience has also a structure, that is space-time structure. Okay. So information has a spatial structure. Information also spatio-temporal, right? So some information makes me experience in the past, and the future and present. So hence there is, when you add experiential time to experience, then experience can be made up of both space and time. So that is why I will first cover experiential time first, and then the experiential and then experiential space, and how do we combine, and then we create an experience. It is not I am creating this material nature under the influence of time. How? So material nature means it is only space, semantic space, right? Material nature means semantic space. This is something that we have to, of course, material nature itself is not semantic space. Material nature, when interacts with the living entities and that is Purusa. Purusa has two categories. These are all topics that we are going to talk later. So let's go further. Okay. Now I will explain what is semantic and syntactic object. In science, a chair of 50 kg and student of 50 kg, no distinction in current science. Because you will say a chair, you can model in science a chair as a lumped mass of 50 kg or a distributed mass of 50 kg. Similarly, a student, a lumped mass of 50 kg and or a distributed mass of 50 kg. This is the problem with the science. Science has no capacity now make a distinction between a chair and a student. Okay, this is first. Second, you imagine the redness, the color, right? In a red tomato, red t-shirt, red painting, no distinction. So you remember last class I had talked about source matters. Why source matters? And I have told you, it is the relationship with the source that brings in semantics, and that gives rise to experience. So let me write down here. So what I said that there is okay, sorry. So you see that source matters, right? Now red tomato is an information, red t-shirt is an information, red painting is an information. But in current science, red, no distinction. Red tomato is completely different than red t-shirt. Okay, then red painting. Okay, and these are all three different meaning. But we have no way to explain this within current science. These are real problems. We need to solve them. Okay. So current science makes use of syntactic objects where the sense information has no reference to the source. Okay. So for example, the speaker is present in his or her voice. Flute sound has the reference to the flute. The red tomato, redness has the reference to the tomato. So how to conceive the model of a semantic object? Okay, so source matters. Why? Because there is a relation of the object to its source, and that brings in information. So redness itself has no information, right? So when it becomes red tomato, red t-shirt, red painting, it makes some meaning. Otherwise, there is no meaning. So these are some fundamental problems that we need to understand before we can conceive how Bhagavat Sankhya can contribute to the modern science. So now let's try to conclude today's discussion. So we started with sound. Sound is the first element that manifests. Okay, when Brahma was burned, he heard a sound, right? And that sound requires a medium, ether manifested. This ether, so what is meaning of that? Sound rests in ether, right? And ether expands to as per the shape of the sound. So structure of ether takes the shape of the sound. What kind of sound it is? Is it Vaikhari sound or Pashyanti, Madhyama, so or Para? Of course, Para cannot be Para cannot be contained within material space. So that's another thing. Similarly, so I hope you understand this. Space of sound is ether, and when sound manifests, then ether manifests, and that ether carries the sound. That means sound rests in ether, and then the and how that ether carries the sound. It is like, you imagine water. Okay, so you have you can place that water in a jug, in a bottle, right? So water will take the shape of the container, right? But here I'm talking different. I'm saying the space modulates itself to the shape of the sound, right? The ether would modulate itself to the shape of the sound. So this is very, very abstract notion that we are going to talk more. So similarly, a form rests in visual space, and visual cell expands to give a form to an object, right? So you can easily see now what I am talking about: achintya, bheda, abheda, tattva. Okay, so can you see there is that sound and ether simultaneously, they're one and non-different. From sound manifest ether, and then ether takes the shape of the sound, and that gives me the form of the sound. Okay, so sound gives rise to ether, and the form of the sound is again measured by the form of the ether. Ether takes the shape of that sound. Okay, similarly, the fire takes the shape of the form. So these are all very, very subtle concepts, and we need to understand them very, very scientifically. So towards holistic science, earth rests on water. This is counterintuitive, right? Everybody thinks water rests in earth because we see the pond. In the pond there is water, and that water is on the earth. But here, complete different. Earth rests on water. Water rests on fire. Fire rests on air. Air rests on sky. Sky rests on sound. Sound rests on false ego. False ego rests on Prakriti. Prakriti rests on Brahman. Brahman rests on Krishna. And Krishna rests on himself. This is called holistic science. And Prabhupada actually, to the BI, he said, scientifically established that Krishna is a sentient being. Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada said that prove Krishna consciousness is a science. It's not a faith. Okay. So there are so many things. But anyway, so you see that how the things are resting, and it's very, very counterintuitive if you really meditate on it, right? So I will I have already talked to you. Space is not absolute, space emerges, right? Space emerges. Space is hidden in the information, and it takes the shape as the information gets connected to various referent. So the challenge is how to bring it within science. I think that I would stop here today. I think we are ready now. So this is a little more what makes a space and detector, semantic machine. I will speak
Professor Behera, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sir, we can't hear you. You are on mute.
Sir, please unmute yourself. Professor Behera, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are muted.
Sir, you are on mute.
No, when he is speaking, no, he can't hear himself whether he is muted or not. So, Professor Behera, you are muted. Please.
क्यों muted हो रहा है?
Actually, when someone is
Okay,
muted,
I'll call him. Just.
अरे भैया.
It is done, bro. Done.
So you see, there is mridanga. So what? See, there is a concert going on. Hare Krishna concert is going on. Somebody is playing, singing Hare Krishna. Somebody is playing mridanga. Somebody is playing tanpura, and I hear all these distinctly. I know there is mridanga. There is. So what is that mridanga? So, is this mridanga? This is nonsense. This is not mridanga. Yes, means I play this, but what is that mridanga that I hear? I don't hear this mridanga. This doesn't enter into my head. But when I play that mridanga, so that means this mridanga is represented by its sound form. So in the sound form, this mridanga has a definite structure. Similarly, tanpura in the sound form has a definitive structure. So also the Hare Krishna music also has a definitive structure. I am able to hear it distinctly, but we cannot solve this. Suppose I mix mridanga, tanpura and everything, a cocktail, and I want to figure out what is mridanga, because I have no notion, scientific notion of mridanga, so I don't know how to separate it. I don't know how to separate it. Okay, so I will so this is just an idea of so I will not give this idea now. Okay, so I need this is 2-hour lecture, calculation of time from atom. So maybe 2 Sundays we will take it. This will be reference from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11. I am pretty sure this little tough for you, because you wanted to hear more about Krishna. Then you will be very rejected, because what we are trying to understand now, the process of creation ontologically, how this process of creation is there, and creative elements they manifest. This is the Bhagavad Sankhya, and we will cover this total topic. Let us see how far we will go, and I'll be very happy if we can bring out certain scientific, I can always tell these are the science problems that we need to solve, but I need to first of all educate each one of you in a very scientific way. What is Bhagavad Sankhya and what are the scientific problems that we can solve using Bhagavad Sankhya? So this is something that we have to understand. So what is the, I just explained to you Mridanga, the subtle Mridanga, and the experience Mridanga, right? So experience Mridanga is a detector, and subtle Mridanga is the information. Detector, the information, and space. Just remember this. Detector, experience, detector is the experience, detector, the information, and the space. Three together makes semantic space. Please understand this point. What is a semantic space? Semantic space is that is the combination, but it's not a combination. It's a unitary whole. It is a unitary whole. So information, space, and detector together makes a cognitive space. So we will with that I'm going to discuss in the next because I will talk about first time experiential time, and then we'll talk about experiential space. Experiential time, experiential space makes spatio-temporal experience of yours, mine, and that's why I experience events in past, present, and future, right? So how that happens, we need to understand very scientifically according to Vedanta. So thank you very much. Now let's see some questions.
Professor Behera, you got muted.
Oh, wow. I don't know when I'm speaking and when I'm getting muted. I don't.
Okay, so this was a wonderful seminar and little bit mystical also, but Professor Behera's expertise, and he's making us understand this complicated subject matter in a very simple way. So I would request audience to raise their hand, then we'll unmute them and they can speak up. And so parallelly, I'm reading questions also for Professor Behera. So one of the question that has come from Shankar Das. Okay, so this is a long question. Let me take the shorter one. This has come from Siddharth. Sir, as mentioned, fire rests on air. It means fire is dependent on air. When we burn fuel in presence of sufficient oxygen, we experience fire by flame visual. Is this correct understanding?
You see, see, the so-called oxygen is not air, nor the so-called fuel is fire. Fire is there within the fuel. Fire is also there within the oxygen. So fire is more subtle. This is See, earth, water, air, fire, ether, these are very subtle than our so-called gross experience, let me tell you. Okay? Uh, uh, just like, you say wood. So for you, wood is an earth. No. Wood consists of earth, water, air, fire, ether. That means anything you have the experience of this world, they are all consisting of these five elements. Okay? And so let us now keep our discussion at this level, because I do not want you people to make wild speculation now. You must speculate, you must start imagining, but the wild imagination will divert us from the actual topic. So I would like that you get first trained about these elements, and I think I have explained, just like, a grain of rice. A grain of rice also consists of earth, water, air, fire, ether. Everything that we see is made up of earth, water, air, fire, ether. So this is something that we have to recognize. Next.
Yes, Professor Behera. So, next question is, somebody has raised hand also, Polami. So we can unmute Polami and she can speak up. Can we unmute?
The participants can unmute themselves. Without...
Okay. So participants can unmute themselves when they want to speak up, but first raise their hands and we'll ask them to speak. So Polami, you can speak now. You can ask your question. I think she's not able to do that. Siddharth, you can ask your question if you want to ask. You can unmute yourself and ask question.
Hare Krishna, sir. Sir, actually, I'm not understanding what actually is fire. But till now, what we see is like something. If we see something burning, we say it is fire. Like trees in Australia, there was wildfire.
Siddharth, why modern science became very popular? Because modern science didn't accept our so-called naive experience to be real. It started contemplating things in a very subtle way. So if you remain even naiver than the modern scientist, you will not reach anywhere. Okay? So fire, because fire, that is a colloquial language.
Yes.
This fire is not that. I am again and again telling.
Yes, sir.
These are all very subtle elements. This is more subtle than even science has understood.
Yes, sir. That is what I was asking. That can you differentiate what is actually what actually is fire, and because we have a wrong
I have
understanding.
already explained. Fire is a space of form.
Okay, sir. Okay.
You need to contemplate. It will not come easily.
Yes, sir. Sure.
It is by Krishna's grace. Sometimes suddenly it will be revealed to us, provided you really contemplate and you want to establish Krishna as a sentient being, then only Krishna may reveal to you, otherwise not. You have to become an unbiased person, neutral person. Okay, you really have to, scientists have to be situated in a mode of goodness and start contemplating. Okay, all these are necessary. So,
yes,
so fire is not the fire when you burn a tree, you see the fire, you burn the gas, you see the fire. Okay, it is more subtle than that. More subtle than that. Okay, what you are seeing, the gross form of the fire. Fire as an element is hidden. You are not seeing that. So when you are able to see the fire in the subtle form, then you will be able to manipulate things. Okay?
Yes.
So this is the point we have to understand.
Okay,
Thank you, Prabhu.
so another question is, so before asking the question, I would request audience to fill the form which is pasted in the chat window if they want to be part of ISS for further programs and they want to be part of the ISS project. Okay, so the next question is, uh, this question is asked by somebody from BGIS, whether everything is coming from sound or sound is coming from everything. Which
Sound is the, according to Bhagavat Sankhya, sound is the first element, gross element that manifested. Okay, sound is the first gross element that manifested, and from sound came ether, the carrier. Then ether gave rise ether. Ether from ether came touch. Touch gave rise to. We are going to study this systematically. Touch gave rise to air. From air came the form, and form gave rise to. You see that the very interesting thing, touch. How touch gives rise to form, right? Sometimes it may say touch gives rise to form. Yes, we see that a man and woman, they are united and there are forms, right? So this, what is that touch? Touch is a very subtle concept. What kind of touch it is? And based on that touch, what kind of form comes out? Right? So these are all very, very interesting topics to study, to do research. We know that pollination that gives rise to the grains and vegetables and so forth. It's a process of touch. So touch gives rise to form, right? That we can see in nature. That's happening. Touch giving rise to form. There are 8.4 million species. They are coming based on different touch. Okay. So this touch we have to understand in a scientific way. And that is why it is very interesting, because if you understand touch nicely, then we will be able to produce quality food. Okay. So this is very, very important for us.
Praveen sir, this is Vinay Kumar. I think we can give a chance to Mr. Ramakrishna from Bangalore. Let him introduce himself and then ask the question. That is my request.
Okay, yeah, please, Mr. Ramakrishna, please unmute yourself and speak up. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Ramakrishna from Bangalore. Yeah, I was hearing very interestingly about the sound. So sound seems to be the primary signature of every visual form. So we can say that every visual form can be finally figured out through this primary signature sound.
Yeah, correct.
And then another question is, we spoke about Mahatattva, but should I think Mahatattva contains three gunas?
Yes.
So it means the same as three gunas.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other comment from Mr. Ramakrishna?
That is all. It's there's a lot of things. like to refresh again and then sharpen, the questions or
Can
the
you
doubts that could arise in my mind.
can you introduce yourself, sir? You seems to be a little senior person, so we just want to listen.
Yeah, he knows me very well. I'm an electrical engineer. I worked as a power system consultant for a American company for quite some time. So most of the time I was out of India, and recently I came back. I took my retirement. So now I am living in Bangalore, and my primary occupation is only on the spiritual sadhana. And I belong to this group, LG, and I very very much, I am following them. It's a good company. It's a great opportunity for me to evolve further.
Wonderful, thank you. So you are attending LG's sessions?
Yeah, and now I am attached to this ISKCON Delhi also, your spiritual science group. It's really very commendable, that we are trying to look at the modern science in the light of Sankhya. Very interesting, really, motivating me a lot to take a deep plunge into the spiritual knowledge.
That's wonderful. Okay, so I think we can wind up our session today, and just to inform that a lot of people are they want to join ISS and they want to work for ISS. Around yesterday we got 70 requests that they want to. Out of them, around 40 are postgraduates, research scholars, and PhDs. So we'll come up with a proper program, orientation program, how to join ISS and how you can contribute to the mission of ISS in coming days. So, and whoever has not filled the form today and they want to be a part of ISS, this great endeavor, so they can, this form, feedback form is posted in the chat window. You can please fill this form and also give some information about yourself, your research interest. So we'll come back to you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Who is speaking? Please introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
This is Kishore here.
Okay. Yeah,
this is Kishore here from New Delhi. I was just asking whether do we have any kind of institution for this, or we are virtually available?
Sorry, who is speaking? I couldn't hear your name.
This is Kishore Kumar. Kishore.
Yeah, Kishore.
From New Delhi.
No. We are not virtually. We are physically existing also. We have our center in east of Kailash, and also the forthcoming newly coming up campus in Vrindavan, and also probably maybe in Jharkhand also. So yeah. It is not just a virtual meeting. We are physically existing.
Sure, Praveen.
Soon we are going to have degree program. Soon we will have degree program as well.
That's great. If it is possible, I may also contribute in that, because I'm a research scholar. I'm working in IT sector from past 8 years. So I may add value if it is required, and I'm one of the preacher at ISKCON Noida. So I was just gathering the information whether we have a physical existence or what.
Yeah.
Thank
please,
you. Hare Krishna.
Please fill the form.
I have already filled. Filled, and once again I'll try to, if you want.
Okay, now that's okay. If you have filled, then it's okay. Okay. Thank you all, and this was a wonderful session by Professor Behera. We thanks a lot to Professor Behera for giving us the opportunity and his valuable time to all of us, and also thank you all the participants. So let us again join next Sunday 11 a.m. and also a request, if somebody want to you can also request your friends to whoever has similar interest, they can join and participate. Thank you very much.